We're going to move on, though, from basketball to football. And Brandon, some big news and kind of some big news if you know what we're talking about. And the reason why I say that is when I first saw the news, I kind of glanced over it about these satellite camps in college football. And then I looked into it and I went, whoa, we've got to talk about this. And if you're completely just unaware of, Ricky, what the hell is a satellite camp? I need to know. Here's what you need to know. It's a camp where it's hosted by another institution. For example, Georgia State could host this camp for recruits, and then the Michigan coaching staff could come in as guest hosts and just run the camp from Georgia State. That's what they are. It's for kind of teams like Michigan, Ohio State, the Big Ten, the Big 12. Iowa State's head coach is not happy about this satellite camp ban that the NCAA came out with, basically saying you can't do them. They're gone, effective immediately. And some have said, Brandon, that the reason why the NCAA has banned these camps is because of Jim Harbaugh. Because of Jim Harbaugh comes into the game and immediately uses these things to bring guys to his school.
I think it's actually all because of the khakis. They want him to wear some black slacks or navy or something.
They said, could you wear some black slacks or maybe some dark brown compromise? He said, nope, khakis only.
That's what it's all about. They're being discriminatory. But no, I think that it kind of sucks, actually. I mean, Harbaugh, good thinking on his part. Maybe kids from different regions want to come here. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, how about it? Of course they do. Let's not be stupid. Of course they would want to. Of course there's some people out in California who might want to come and play for Michigan. They don't all want to go to Cal. They don't all want to go to USC. That's just how it is. But now you have to do it within your radius. You're being limited to only a certain talent pool. And you said it before we got started talking, Ricky. The SEC and the ACC win again, as they always do. And let me tell you, folks, I'm a big SEC guy. Mm-hmm. Love them. Alabama is my team. But I do not think that this is necessarily fair. I think that, obviously the SEC will continue to get their talent. The ACC will continue to get their talent. But why is it that you can't have some good competition, some good, healthy competition with these players on whether or not, they go play here or they go play here?
Well, really, the whole thing is, and the reason why Brandon mentioned the SEC and the ACC, more so the SEC, wins again, is because each of those conferences, if you're unaware, each conference had individual rules saying, like, for example, the SEC said, hey, Alabama, you can't work a camp at a destination outside of a 50-mile bubble around your school. So basically, draw a 50-mile circle radius around your school. Those are the destinations where you can have camps. The ACC was the same way. Whereas you have the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, these conferences didn't really have that, where they were more Michigan could come to the SEC territory, come to that southeastern region or that Texas region, or even California was a big one for Michigan to hit, and could run these camps and could say, hey, you know what, we're going to use these as a recruiting tool. I'm kind of in the middle on this, and part of me wants to say the SEC wins again, because honestly, look at Alabama, look at Auburn, look at Ole Miss, look at anyone in the SEC. Kids are going to want to go there just because it's Alabama and they play in the SEC. Everybody knows that if you want a chance to win a championship, you're going to play in the SEC. That's just how it is. Those are where the best teams are. That's where they have been for the past few years. So part of me is like, well, you know what? We need to level the playing field for other teams. If a Michigan needs a satellite camp to pull in guys, then sure, let's have one. If an Iowa State needs a satellite camp, go ahead. Let's have these satellite camps. However, there is the part of me that's like, Ricky, you're being contradictory, because if one school like a Michigan can do it, why can't a school like Alabama do it, even if Alabama might not need to do it?
And Ricky, I don't know if you had mentioned this, but Northwestern Athletics Director Jim Phillips, who chairs the D1 Council and also represents the Big Ten, said he was disappointed in the outcome of the vote for two reasons. Again, getting this off a USA Today article. First, he said banning satellite camps unnecessarily, quote, limits the prospective student athletes' options who deserve a chance to have interaction with the best coaches in the country, regardless of where you're from, end quote. And second, Phillips said the Big Ten had tabled some potential legislative items it was interested in, such as an early signing period to roll it into a comprehensive review of football that was supposed to also include the satellite camp issue. So I think that's kind of interesting. So, you even have the chair of the D1 Council saying that it's disappointing on this ruling that they came out with. I think that that's pretty interesting when you take a look at it.
Well, you know what else? And I just see this at the end of the ESPN article I'm looking at, and it makes me wonder what the exact vote was, because this is how the voting was counted up. The vote was passed by a 10-5 margin. And from what this article says, and I quote, each Power 5 conference, so Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, and ACC, counts as 2 votes. So that's a total of 10 votes just with those 5. While each group of 5 conference, 5 of those, each count as 1 vote for a maximum of 5 votes. Based on what you said, I don't know if I could say which side the Big Ten voted for, but based on that, 2 for the Power 5, 1 vote for the Group of 5, I see 10-5, and that kind of looks like, okay, so the Power 5 all voted against it. The Group of 5, which is interesting because I didn't know that they were in this. Look at a Group of 5 school, let's say a Memphis. They may need these more than Michigan may need them. Because who wants to go to Memphis? Who wants to go to South Florida? Let me put it lower school, as Central Florida, since Blakey Bortles ain't there anymore. Those are the schools that may get even more hurt by this. Because at the end of the day, Michigan may get hurt that they can't run a satellite camp in California. But in the end of the day, they're still fucking Michigan. They have that yellow moron M on their head. And people still flock in the doors, go to that school. A team like even Nebraska has that tradition behind it. It's Nebraska. The Group of 5s, they don't have that same football. I'm not going to say tradition is the word I'm looking for, but they don't have that same pedigree, I think, is the word I want to use, where they don't have that where they can step into a room and people go, damn, that's a head football coach of the Memphis Tigers. Notice how I couldn't even say the name. Of course, they got a new head coach. That's why I can't say the name. But everyone else is like, damn, that's Nick Saban. That's Nick Saban. You don't even have to say that's the Alabama head football coach. That's Nick Saban. That's Mike D'Antoni. That's Jim Harbaugh. They have that pedigree, whereas the Group of 5s, I think they're hurt the most by this. And I want to know. I want to be a fly in the room of that vote to see who voted there where, because 4 of the vote that went in favor of it came from the SEC and the ACC.
Most likely. Most likely. I don't I think this really does more hurt than help. Mm-hmm. I really do, because isn't that what we're about though? Is this, this healthy competition? Like, we'll see where the player wants to go. But sometimes the player needs to be shown the options. It's not always just, okay, well, you went to all these high schools in the South, or high schools. You went to high school in the South, so that means you're going to Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, all of these things. What's to say that you wouldn't want to go to school at a Memphis, at a Houston, at something like that?
Especially at Houston.
How about that? That makes sense.
I should have looked one paragraph higher than I was, because they actually talk about this. So according to a source that was in the room, here's how the voting went down. The SEC, the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12 all voted to end satellite camps. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. How do you get the other 10? Well, the Group of 5 conferences, the Sun Belt and the Mountain West, voted against. So altogether for the 10 votes, SEC, ACC, Pac and Big 12, Mountain West, Sun Belt. The other 5, the Big 10, which is 2, and then the Mid-American, the Conference USA, and the American, those were who voted where. As this is a source, so we don't really know if that's who was there, but that's what this article is saying. So the Big 10 is the only power conference to say, no, we need these.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Why would the Sun Belt, like the Sun Belt's the lowest of the low to me. Do they just not care at this point?
I don't know. There's, for each school, there's probably something that sways them one way or another. I mean, that's how it is for all of our lobbyists, because we all know that voting, just because Bernie Sanders actually wins somewhere, doesn't mean that he actually ends up winning. Because, Wyoming, that's just another thing. Check out Bernie Sanders, folks. Even if you're not a Democratic voter or a Bernie Sanders fan, check out Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton out in Wyoming. Take a look at how corrupt that is. That corruptness that's in everything,
talking about the 7-7 delegates,
including sports. So that's why there's always something. Everybody always has a reason to make a decision one way or another for something. It's called having a fucking agenda.
Last thing I'm going to ask. It's the question of this video. If you're watching it on, YouTube for the SoundCloud podcast, it's just right in the middle. Does this level the playing field? Banning satellite camps? Does it level the playing field because the SEC and the ACC couldn't do it, and now everybody can't do it?
Yeah. I think that it. I think it really gives the upper hand to the ACC, SEC, because they've kind of now gotten away the competition. In a sense, because we talked about you could still have the loophole. You're a guest. You're a guest of. Coach or whatever it is. But no, I don't think that the playing field is level at all. I think that it really there's an upper hand here. I think that most people would hopefully see that, but that's just what I think. That's just what I think, and maybe it doesn't make a lot of a difference. Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same attitude as the last thing I will say. The only thing I will say to describe this is the rich just get richer. But let us know down below what you think of this as well.
And folks, last thing has nothing to do with anything we've talked about on the podcast today, but RIP to Jordan Spieth's 2 balls on hole number 12. God bless.